Hello, everyone. Welcome. What a blessing it is for us to gather this week and conclude the reading of Masaaki-sama's sacred word, God and God alone. In this sacred word, Masaaki-sama leads us not only to receive God's love, but to respond to it. This is the true union of the spiritual and the material, as he's sharing with us. We are being awakened to transform our mindset, to believe in the premise that God has already accomplished everything, and to shift from being ones who simply receive light and blessings to those who are now called to save all of humanity and all our ancestors. This is more than a study. It is a moment to awaken. So get ready to receive this sacred word that can transform your life. Together, let us respond to the true will of our Father. As we begin today's study, let us, in the name of Messiah, which is one with Meishu-sama, one with Jesus Christ, recognize that it is only by God's grace and Kyoshu-sama's permission that we are able to hold these studies. With hearts filled with gratitude for this permission, let us at this moment invite all our ancestors, the ancestors of all humanity who live and breathe within each cell of our bodies, to participate in this study with us, acknowledging that the thoughts and feelings we experience during this study are the very thoughts and feelings that God has atoned for within each one of us. So, in the name of Messiah, let us together with them return to heaven as ones who have been forgiven and saved. Let us begin our study with the Church Canon. Church Canon. With great fear of God, we acknowledge that the Lord God is our true Father, the one and only God. We revere Meishu-sama as the model for all humanity and as our own example to follow. Meishu-sama, who was born anew as a true child of God the Messiah, by receiving the divine will that God accomplished in heaven. We believe that Jesus Christ, who 2,000 years ago embodied the name of Messiah, the name most holy and high, is serving the Lord God in unity with Meishu-sama. We regard the sacred word of Kyoshu-sama, who reveals to us the will of Meishu-sama in this material world, as the sole, absolute, and irreplaceable foundation in advancing our mission here on earth. Words of prayer. God, I acknowledge that you are alive. Within me, you are alive. I thank you for nurturing me to be newly born as your child. May this blessing be shared with all. In the name of Messiah, which is one with Meishu-sama, I surrender myself to you. Please use me as you wish. For all those of you watching who have not yet become followers of our church's Instagram page, this is a great time to do so. All you have to do is open Instagram on your phone. Search for World Church of Messiah. Once the page opens, below the name of the page, you will see the button to follow. Click on it. But it doesn't end there. On the top right-hand corner is a bell sign. Click on it. Enable all notification types available. Make sure to enable notifications. By doing so, you will be able to get updated daily, real-time post notifications as they are being made on Instagram. This is a great way to align our sonen and hearts with the holy seat of Kyoshu on a daily basis. Through the Instagram page and Facebook, it is also a great way to see how our church is bringing this gospel of salvation to the world evermore, with not only the sacred words that are being posted daily, but also through three pillars of salvation: prayer, food, and music as well. They are amazing posts. There is so much we can learn and so much we can share with our family and friends. It is a true treasure. So don't forget to share. Every week I choose a post from Instagram for us to have in mind during our study. We had an amazing thing that took place, amazing blessing. On June 8th, 2025, this year's holy day of Pentecost, Kyoshu-sama consecrated the sacred ground of fire. And regarding that consecration, that day, that event, there are several posts online, and I chose one with a few pictures to share with you guys. And I like to read with you the report that was made. And it states, June 8th, 2025, this year's holy day of Pentecost, Kyoshu-sama consecrates the land of Koshiki-iwa in Nishinomiya. The sacred ground of fire has hereby been born. Masaaki-sama is about to deliver his sacred word, the first words to be uttered at the consecrated sacred ground of fire. At that very moment, the song of a cuckoo bird fills the air. Heaven blesses the birth of this sacred ground and the sacred word that would soon be delivered, and testifies to the arrival of a new era. It is as if a bell were announcing the dawn of missionary work that is now about to begin. Masaaki-sama delivers his sacred word and reveals auspicious occurrences still unknown to people, filling everyone with wonder. After the ceremony, Masaaki-sama, accompanied by his spouse Meishu-sama, personally explains his vision for the sacred grounds 3 times in detail. First to Kyoshu-sama and Meishu-sama, then to the board members and other key personnel, and finally to the overseas presidents in Portuguese. On this day, the weather is slightly overcast, and as soon as the ceremony comes to a close without incident, rain quietly begins to fall. Meishu-sama once taught that the fire element increases its power when there is the water element. The rain on this day gives proof to this, that the fire, newly born at this sacred ground, will increase its spiritual power more and more. Such thoughts strike our hearts. Indeed, the cuckoo bird, the herald Masaaki-sama's sacred word, and the blessed rain that moistened the earth of the sacred ground were not mere coincidences. All creation that has been renewed, as Kyoshu-sama teaches, it is as if they all celebrated this sacred ceremony and blessed the future of World Church of Messiah. 451 people who gathered on this day could not contain their joy, and with passion to spread the gospel burning in their hearts, they went forth all over the world. Consecration ceremony for the sacred ground of fire, June 8th, 2025. This is truly an epic moment, right? Historic. And we are so blessed to be a part of this most holy church right now and serve in this divine plan. As the sacred ground of fire is now born, as the sacred ground of soil, construction takes place, and soon the sacred ground of water that will be consecrated this year by Masaaki-sama during his missionary trip to Brazil with his wife Meishu-sama. We can't help but feel enormous joy and excitement to see the divine plan of God unfold. And With that, I like to receive this sacred word of Masaaki-sama, God and God alone, as we conclude this sacred word and receive God's true will that is being revealed to us through Masaaki-sama so that we can accomplish our mission and fulfill our purposes here on earth, bringing this gospel of salvation to the world and to all our ancestors, to everyone that we come in contact with. So with this in mind, I'd like to pick up from a few slides where we stopped last time during our reading and read through with you guys and share a few reflections that I've been having as I received the sacred word. So once again, God and God alone, September monthly service, World Church of Messiah headquarters, September 1st, 2022. Remember everyone, God is love, and love cannot be comprehended through logic. If we try to understand it logically, even though it is not logic, it leads to this is hard or I can't understand. But if you think this is about love, Kyoshu-sama's messages too are about love. I want to feel this love. Then you may be able to find a clue within you. One that may lead to knowing God's truth. I mean, all of you have actually been given the position that will allow you to reach Kenshin-jitsu. Remember? If you try to understand this logically, it would be difficult. And it's because this is about love. Having said that, does it mean that since God is love, we don't have to do anything? It doesn't mean that. On my end, I intend to muster up all the words I can about God's love so that all of us can receive it together. Just making a quick pause here because this is a point that I brought up last time, right? Look at Masaaki-sama's passion for us to receive this love of God, to receive God's true heart, right? He's sharing. He's going to use all the words possible, muster up all that he can, right? So that all the words he's able to, so that we can receive this love of God together. Right? And we can truly feel how embraced we are by God's love through Masaaki-sama to fulfill our mission as we receive the sacred word. And he shares the content of today's Bible passage is a well-known part in the beginning of the Gospel of John and has to do with to be born anew. Just as a point of reference, since it's been a while that this was shared, I pulled up this sacred word that was shared during this service when Masaaki-sama delivered this sacred word. And in that sacred word, we have the Bible passage. So I'd like to read that with you today before we continue on our reading. So Masaaki-sama is referring to the following passage in the Bible. And he says, and in the Bible, this is what was shared during the service, says John chapter 1, verses 1 through 13. In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God. He was with God in the beginning. Through him all things were made. Without him nothing was made that has been made. In him was life, and that life was the light of all mankind. The light shines in the darkness, and the darkness has not overcome it. There was a man sent from God whose name was John. He came as a witness to testify concerning that light, so that through him all might believe. He himself was not the light. He came only as a witness to the light. The true light that gives light to everyone was coming into the world. He was in the world, and through the world and though the world was made through him, the world did not recognize him. He came to that which was his own, but his own did not receive him. Yet to all those who did receive him, to those who believed in his name, he gave the right to become children of God. Children born not of natural descent, nor of human decision or a husband's will, but born of God. So Masaaki-sama continues and he shares, as you just heard, it said that those who believe in his name would be born of God, right? Not of human decision, nor of a husband's will. It was also not of natural descent. Not of natural descent, which is to say, as an example, because I am part of the Okada family, and since Meishu-sama was born anew, I will be able to be born anew too? This is not the case, as it is not something that runs in the blood. When it comes to lineage, there are various kinds of examples, right? The imperial family or royal families and others. But when it comes to being born as children of God, that does not apply. In the human world, there are separate lineages, each one different. But truth be told, by God's blood, we are all one. As part of God's lineage, we are all one family. I mean, our blood has been atoned for, hasn't it? Atoned for. As Jesus is the Lord of atonement, our blood was atoned for by the blood of Jesus. This means that the blood running through our bodies has been purified. And what runs through each and every one of us right now is God's golden blood. In that sense, we are all family. We are all family united by God's blood, by God's golden blood. Just making a quick pause, right? How many of us have ever thought about God's blood flowing through us, right? God's blood uniting us. It wasn't until this sacred word of Masaaki-sama that I even started to think about that, right? To be able to even think about that. This very golden blood of God that unites us. I mean, every time we talked about blood or lineages, I had this human lineage in mind, as we saw in the example, right? As who were my predecessors, right? Who are or will be my descendants, and that blood and that human lineage that connects us, but not of God's blood, right? God's golden blood that connects us and connects us because we were atoned for. It's another point that really caught my attention as I was receiving this sacred word. And Masaaki-sama shares, he says, if we are of God's lineage, then we can of course be born anew. I'm going to read this again, right? Because I think this is a very important point for us to notice. If we are of God's lineage, then we can of course be born anew, right? I think that it's very easy for us to take this born anew in the Bible and think, well, if I just become a member of the church, by accepting Jesus, I'm born anew, right? And we can see that it's something much deeper than that. And this is what we are being led to awaken to, this truth of God. Or in some cases, we think that's not even possible. We don't see it as something concrete that's actually happening, right? And some people might not even believe that it's possible to be born anew. But here, Masaaki-sama is sharing with us, if we are of God's lineage, then we can, of course, be born anew. And he continues, he says, and since our blood has already become God's golden blood, it is purifying the many people within us that need to be saved. So our bodies are going through various things right now, including illness. This is another point, right? That we think, oh, wonderful, right? We have this golden blood flowing through us, but there's a purpose, and that blood is actually doing something. And look what Masaaki-sama is sharing with us here. It says it's purifying the many people within us that need to be saved. It's very easy for us to separate ourselves from people, right? Separate our problems, our issues from the people we see around us. But if we truly accept this sacred word, that we are the sum total of our ancestors, then there are many, many people within us that need to be saved, and that golden blood is purifying that. This is totally new for anyone listening right now. Wouldn't you agree? And with that, Masaaki-sama shares, so our bodies are going through various things right now, including illness. We are going through illness. We're going through all these issues to fulfill this purpose. And look what he shares. I mean, this is totally a completely new way of living and seeing the world, I believe. He says there is the view that because our blood is impure, we will become sick. And from here on, we will get worse and worse. But it's not that. I believe this is how many people in the world see today, right? Because of our blood being impure, we're becoming sicker, right? Or we're going to get sick and get worse and worse. Masaaki-sama is saying it's not that. Look what he shares with us. He says, rather, because our blood has already been purified, because golden blood runs within us, and if it is indeed golden blood, it would illuminate many things. It means that it is purifying the dirty things within us. The very golden blood that exists within us is illuminating many things. It is purifying the dirty things within us. This is totally incredible, to say the least, right? I actually don't have a word to express how amazing this is, how awe-striking this is, right? How revolutionary this point of view is. Because this golden blood flows through us, it is illuminating many things. And it is the process, that is the process, purifying the dirty things within us. Further, he shares, for example, cancer is one of the various obvious ones. There are other various kinds of diseases having to do with the blood, but all of these diseases are not bad things at all. Instead, God is using the clean, pure blood within us and is purifying the many sins of humanity. This is how it works. For anybody going through an illness, or anybody who knows somebody going through such a serious illness, right? Or such a situation, we don't think like that, do we? We don't see the world like that, do we? But Masaaki-sama is showing us the truth of how our bodies, how our life works, how God created us to be, right? The pure blood within us is purifying the many sins of humanity. The pure blood. It's not a bad blood. The pure blood within us is purifying the many sins of humanity. The many, many people within us, right, is purifying. This is something to, in a way, be extremely grateful for. Is it not? And he says, but as it says in the hymn about people of the world, how pitiful are those who do not know this teaching. The complete hymn for reference is, how pitiful are those who do not know this teaching, for they are unable to grasp true happiness. Aren't those people suffering when they become ill, constantly wondering, when am I going to get better? When? So, if possible, don't we want to tell them, even if you get sick, you are not getting worse. Rather, there is golden blood within you. You are being used in the work of salvation. Don't we want to convey this? The minute somebody gets sick, somebody gets ill, I think because we've had that mentality that it's getting worse and worse, right? That the blood is impure and this and that we go down that path of how pitiful, how sad, and we get lost in despair. Wouldn't you agree? But and we say, how sad, or what a waste, right? Or so young, or this or that. But if we were to become aware that we are being used in this work of salvation, it begins to change our mindset completely. Would it not? And he continues. So if we receive the truth that we have already been purified and saved, it means at that point, God's first purpose has been achieved. Then there is the next step. This next step is to proactively be used in the work of salvation. I'm going to read this part again, okay? So if we receive the truth that we have already been purified and saved, it means at that point, God's first purpose has been achieved. Then there's the next step. This next step is to proactively be used in the work of salvation. We are at that stage now. We are not going to just settle on the side of receiving and say, we have been saved. We have to advance to the next level. As it was just said in the hymn mentioned earlier, when we know the happiness of being saved, we want to repay God with all our body and heart, right? If you feel you can repay God only when you are perfectly well and healthy, then you will never be able to repay God's heart for the rest of your life. So now is the time, right now. It comes down to whether you decide, right now, I am saved. I have been purified. Because you have been saved and purified, you'll feel many things in your heart and you become ill. God is using you in this kind of divine work of salvation. This is what it is. There's absolutely nothing else other than this one point. Without this one point, that God has already accomplished everything, has saved everyone and everything, and has welcomed all into his heaven, there is absolutely no way you would be able to go forward on this path. Without it, we would be living in a world of darkness, where we wonder, when will I get better? A world where we think the world is in a terrible state, and another war has broken out. How awful. Well, the people of the world are living with these kinds of thoughts, though. But it is not that way. There is parental love, isn't there? God's parental love, that is true love. Just making a quick pause here, right? Because this sacred word changed my life. As some of you may know, my wife was diagnosed several years ago, a couple of years ago, with breast cancer. And at the end of last year, passed away. And it was this sacred word, among many of the sacred words that we're receiving, that brought us out of this total darkness, this darkness of thinking, when is this going to get better, right? Or is it going to get better? Or the world is in a terrible state, as Masaaki-sama is sharing here, right? To see that we are already saved, to see that we are being used in this work of salvation. It brought us from despair to hope, and not only hope, but to proactively participate in this salvation. Humanly, right? We feel all these feelings, all these attachments and the sadness. But as Masaaki-sama is sharing, there are so many within us that have been trapped into this world, into this way of thinking, right? But when you are aware, you are being brought to awaken to this truth that God's golden blood is flowing through you. And this very golden blood is purifying the many things within you. Then that illness, that difficult time is no longer a burden, but a huge blessing and opportunity to be grateful for, to be serving God. And it takes you away from being trapped into this human way of living and seeing the world, and seeing the world from God's point of view, from what God wants for us, and to receive what God has most special for us and share that. And I think that brings us to this point that Masaaki-sama is sharing with us, where he says, but it is not that way. There is parental love, isn't there? God's parental love, that is true love. It is certainly true that criminal punishment as related to this human world is necessary. But no matter how messed up we become, no matter how horrible a thing we do, no matter all of that, God says, I forgive you. I will welcome you to me. It is this parental love. There's this parental love, isn't there? Then in response to that, there is the child's love, our love. In return, we can respond with, thank you. There is this child's love of ours. As such, the parental love and the child's love become one. This is what I'm talking about. In response to this paternal love, the child's love responds, you have accomplished everything, and you have prepared something perfect. Thank you. When this paternal love and child's love match up, unlimited power is to be found. After all, it is the union of the spiritual and the material. You know, this sacred word, like I said, there's so many points that it's awakening. And every time I read, it goes deeper and deeper, and it's such a blessing. And this is that point, right, where Masaaki-sama is talking about the essence of all this, is this love of God, us as children receiving and acknowledging that, and those two hearts becoming one, right? And that is the true union of spiritual and material, where he shares unlimited power is to be found. I can't even comprehend what that unlimited power is, but at the same time, before, when I heard the word spiritual and material and the union of both, I had all these ideas and all these theories, never saw God's love and a child's love becoming one, right? And this only shows us how important and how priceless it is to be led by Masaaki-sama, to be led by the holy seed of Kyoshu, to receive these sacred words, right? Without the sacred word, how could we ever perceive this love of God, right? Through the very everything that we are going to see and receive this true love of God, and know that we can acknowledge that before God. We can communicate that to God. Right? It's truly beautiful, to say the least. And he continues, he says, so until now, there were activities like the jorei, by the raising of the hand, and such like. And all this time, our attention went to the side of receiving light and blessings. Don't get me wrong. It is good to feel that we need to make the world better. But there's a big difference between taking action, believing in the premise that God has already accomplished everything, and not having that. We see the world and we see everything that's going on. Did we ever think God has accomplished everything like Masaaki-sama is bringing to us here today? I can be very honest with you. I never had that, right? It was always, I have to take action, do something to make the world better, to make the world different, and not seeing one that God accomplished everything, not seeing the love of God and thinking that me, out of my power, human strength, I could do something about that, right? Look what Masaaki-sama is sharing here. It's saying there's a big difference between taking action, believing in the premise that God has already accomplished everything, not having that premise at all, and thinking that this evil world needs to be changed for the better through human power. To view the plan as already accomplished or to view it as not accomplished, there is a huge difference. So from now on, each and every one of us has to take a big leap over this era of receiving light and blessings we were in until now, and begin saving all of humanity and all the ancestors connected to all of humanity. It is all right, even if you don't have acquaintances or friends. Within you, you can think, I was given an important mission. Then, when you have the thought, oh, I hate that guy, you can think, aha, this is what you want to save. Illness is very tough too. Of course, in this world, we talk a lot about how to cope with such and such illness. But within those kinds of situations, even if it is only for a sliver of a moment, if we can think, oh God, in order to save many people, you are using the golden blood within me to purify them, then God will tell us, yes, that's right. So everyone's mission, each and every one of yours, is big. It looks like we are suffering from things such as illnesses or human relationships, but that's not it. God is entrusting each and every one of us with the great work of salvation. For that, we must first receive, that is, I will receive your love that you accomplished in heaven, your paternal love. It means, I believe in your love. This is not logic, everyone. Just making a quick pause, right? Because this is huge, right? And like Masaaki-sama was saying, it's not logic, and he's showing us, right? I will receive your love. What does that mean? It means I believe. I believe in your love. You're acknowledging God's love. Does that mean you're feeling all this lovey-dovey feeling that we think about, right? Or whatever it is that we associate the feeling of love? Not necessarily, right? We are acknowledging that God accomplished in heaven. He says, I will receive your love that you accomplished in heaven, your parental love. God accomplished in heaven, as Masaaki-sama has been sharing the sacred word, before he even created us, right? Before he even created us, that love of God. And it means, he says, I believe in your love. This is not logic, everyone. And he continues, so as God's love is the true love, if you go forward in this way, the world of light will certainly be established. And remember, this world will also be one filled with love. So I would like all of you of World Church of Messiah to build a world filled with light and love, a world filled with the light and love of God. From today, plenty of things may happen, but God is doing all of it for the sake of salvation. With courage, let's go forward together. Thank you very much. I think this message, right? Even though we received it back in 2022 during the service, it is so timely for us, right? Because there are so many things happening in the world, in our lives, around us, with the people we know. But if we can go forward, acknowledging this love, acknowledging that God is doing all of it for the sake of salvation, as Masaaki-sama is sharing here, with courage, go forward and share this love of God with all who we meet. Truly, it will change the way we live. It will change the way we see the world, and we can live with true hope and joy. We are truly, truly, truly blessed. We are being brought out of this world of I want to receive light and blessings to the world of God, of bringing that blessing to all humanity, all of creation. And it starts with us. It starts with acknowledging this very golden blood flowing through us. God alive within us, fulfilling His purpose that He accomplished in heaven. So let us together, with courage and joy, strength, united to the holy seat of Kyoshu, as one with Kyoshu-sama, Masaaki-sama, bring this gospel of salvation to all those we meet. I highly encourage you to download this sacred word. PDF link is available in the description of this video, and let us receive it and read it over and over and acknowledge this before God in our daily lives, in all that we are experiencing, and acknowledge this love of God and unite, become one with this heart of God, seeking to receive and to respond to that love of God. Share this salvation with as many people as possible. Thank you for joining us. May all honor, may all glory be returned to God always.